But let's get to Brock Purdy. And here's what Baldy had to say about Brock Purdy's game against the Minnesota Vikings.
I thought he was good. He's always good. I mean, those tough throws in the middle of the field are tough. I don't know how to describe it, Joe. He wasn't all-world, and I think some people just think he's got to be all-world. He misses McCaffrey in the passing game, for sure. There's no question about that. He's just such a difference maker on really easy throws, but in space where he does so much damage after it, not to take anything away from Jordan. I think they do miss him. No, he did deliver the knockout shots that, for example, that Sam did, from the other side. I mean, the throw to Justin Jefferson and the throw to Naylor at the end. Like, he didn't deliver those type of knockout shots that you want him to be able to do.
All right, he didn't deliver the knockout shots, no doubt about it. Maybe the knockout shots weren't available, but he didn't do it. Now, what is Brock doing wrong? Here's what Baldy had to say about that.
I do think he is kind of staring some receivers down. I think he is locked in on some guys, and he's kind of probably waiting too long for things to open up. And some of that is, okay, Ayuk wasn't there at all during training camp in the offseason, kind of waiting on some things to happen, and you could be found guilty of that sometimes.
So Shasky staring receivers down. Nick Wagner from ESPN had this stat out there. I want you to respond to this. Niners combined 3 of 13 on 3rd and 4th down against Minnesota. So far in the year, they're 9 of 26, 34.6%, which would be tied for 21st in the NFL. So the McCaffrey effect, Ayuk's slow start, Deebo not getting separation, that's a big impact. Now also, they're allowing a sack per drop rate. How about this? They're allowing a sack per drop back rate of 11.7. That's the worst in the NFL. Conversely, Purdy has an average time to sack of 5.76 seconds, which is second slowest in the NFL. So that tells me he's not checking it down. He's looking for the home run. He's holding on to the ball way too long. And to Baldy's point, probably stares some receivers down. So we got to get Brock Purdy going here.
Yeah, and he's also had to run for his life on a few of those plays. I think I like two in particular that were completions are the one where he ran around and then threw to Juice and Deebo. He had I referenced a couple other ones where he's running around and he takes a sack. He just slides down to just don't throw this into coverage. I can't throw it away. It'll be intentional grounding. There's a lot of I thought that they were confused on Sunday, and I think there's a lot going on. He saw the rush early on, and I think that he got kind of sped up on the interception. Right, he was going to Juice no matter what. And when you look at the zoomed out view, there were other guys that were open, but he's not even looking in their direction because he's already feeling pressure before it comes. And I think that he was already ready to dump it off to Juice. He actually had one earlier that he dumped off to Juice that Juice made a really nice contested catch that he got hit right in the side on. And, yeah, I think that happens when you're getting heated up and you're getting blitzed and you're getting off the field. You're like, hey, I'm not going to take a sack here in this situation. And I do believe he's been locked on to Deebo a lot. Good or bad. He's had some really good plays and a couple bad ones, but he has been locked in on Deebo. And I think that's because, quite frankly, whether this is real or not, he's probably been practicing a lot with Deebo the last 2 months, and that's who he's comfortable with.
Yep. No, and obviously Ayuk's got to get up to speed here, but that third down with 49er Frankie, Guru's boy, was like, check out the third play of the game, and you'll see the check downs. I didn't even make it to play number 3, Shash. I got stopped at play number 2. Said, oh, there's a check down there. There's something that's available. 888-957-9570 is the number here. What do you think about what Baldy said about Brock Purdy staring down wide receivers? Now, not having Deebo and not having Christian McCaffrey, we're going to see a lot. Do you think, too, that there's some fans out there who wants to see Purdy in this position to try to thrive without McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel? Don't you think people are kind of waiting for that?
Were people waiting for Mahomes to play without Tyreek Hill?
I don't know. I'm not in Kansas City.
Are you I'm talking about nationally.
Oh, maybe.
No, yes, we all were. All right, now let's see what he looks like. Well, right? That's just what we do. That's what haters do, right? Everyone's waiting for the demise of someone. Josh Allen fans and the ones who hate him, what are they all saying? Let's see what you look like without all your playmakers.
Looks pretty damn good.
No doubt. It
was pretty damn good.
No doubt. But, I think that is what football fans do across the board. Now, internally, Niner fans, we want to have an all-star squad. Is there intrigue, though, to kind of, see what it looks like? Of course there is. Of course
I think there's a lot of intrigue here.
Yeah, and I want to see him, ball out without those guys. The hallmark of what made Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, that's what made those guys is that, man, whether it's Julian Edelman or Wes Welker, or I'm throwing to who's the guy that won the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and then
James White.
No, they went to the Seahawks early on. Deion Branch.
Deion Branch.
You know, Rashawn Caldwell. Like, there's been so many Caldwell. Excuse me.
Davey
There's been
Givens.
so many guys throughout the years that you just plug into a Peyton Manning offense or a Tom Brady, and boom, they become ball players. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, Wes Welker wasn't doing this in Miami. You want to have one of those kind of guys. Right, that's what you want. You want to have one of those guys. Oh, James Toney doesn't work in Kansas City initially, and then he goes to the New York Giants and is completely lost, and then he comes back. Of course, it's going to work with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Why? Because those are two successful head coaches and quarterbacks. You want your guy to be one of those guys. I think the Giants, I'm talking about San Francisco Giants, kind of had that magic for a little while. Like, oh, it didn't work out elsewhere. Dan Uggla will work out here. Oh, Jake Peavy struggling elsewhere. It'll work out here. We've got the magic, right? And so, yeah, you want to have one of those kind of situations.
Dan Uggla, 2 weeks, right? Was it even 2 weeks?
It wasn't. But you get where I'm going.
Yeah,
like,
no, I do. I remember interviewing him in the clubhouse. He was in there.
I mean, after the Giants hit on Matt Duffy early on, it was like, we can't miss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we just know infielders. And I feel like the Niners, to a degree, it's like, hey, can Cowie make plays?
Yeah.
Let next man up. What's up with Saubert? He looks like he can, make enough plays as a second tight end. So it feels like they've hit on Jordan Mason as a backup. Now, can his body withstand the punishing style that he plays
May need another
week after
backup.
week? I don't know.
Baldy brought up Isaac Guerrero. Next man up. It's got to get ready to roll here. Isaac Guerrero. 888-957-9570. Is there more pressure on Shanahan to put these playmakers in a position to make plays, or is the pressure solely on number 13, Brock Purdy? 408, Xfinity Mobile Text Line. It's not hating. It's a chance for Brock to silence their critics or confirm that he's really, really good. The critics will be silenced until the playoffs. They make the playoffs, right? And I'm not saying the Niners are not making the playoffs, but we're a long way away. And I just feel like in September, we shouldn't be talking Super Bowl as a playoffs. We got to get, you got to get through the first quarter of the season to see where you're at.
They still have playmakers, right? Yes, you're down Deebo and you're down CMC, and these are huge losses. Like, games are hard to win with those guys, or even harder without them. But you still have Kittle, you still have Ayuk, you still have Jennings, and you still have Jordan Mason. And you've got an elite play caller. And, we've talked a lot about Sirianni this morning.
Yep.
You know why I'm out on Sirianni? It's because I don't know if he has the answers, X's and O's, on the whiteboard to be able to solve the issues as they arise. Like, A.J. Brown's going to be out right now. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know, Kellen Moore and Sirianni, do you trust that they have the answers to figure it out while those guys are out? I don't know. What I do know is that when guys have been out in the past, and he has an 8-year track record, and as an OC prior, it does feel like Shanahan has found a way to move the ball with a variety of players, whether that be different running backs, different wide receivers, different offensive linemen. So I feel like there's a body of work that has me encouraged that they could figure this thing out.
On the other side, after the 8:25 break here, I want to play a little rapid fire with the feds out here on Brock Purdy. 30 for Purdy. 30 for Purdy. This is an idea by Sam Lubman, which is really good. 30 for Purdy. You have 30 seconds to give your thoughts about how Brock Purdy played against Minnesota. A little rapid fire. 30 for Purdy. You have 30 seconds to give your assessment and your thoughts on how Brock Purdy played against Minnesota. As Baldy said, he scared out a lot of receivers. He wasn't all world. So 888-957-9570. Line them up. Line them up. 888-957-9570 is the number. 30 for Purdy. You have 30 seconds to give your thoughts on how Brock Purdy played. Because that's going to be, a lot of people are going to be looking at him against the L.A. Rams and beat up L.A. Rams, a team that gave up an abundance of points against Arizona. The game was over in the first quarter. They've got guys dropping left and right. They got half their team, it feels like, on the IR, the L.A. Rams. I was talking to 5-2 yesterday, Kirk Morrison. He's just like, dude, just getting beat up. We're just getting beat up. So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you think these guys need to start playing preseason? He goes, man, Puka had the knee injury in the training camp. Cooper got rolled up on a fluke injury. Things happen. But they gave up a 41 burger to Arizona. It wasn't even close. So,
This is a game, though, for their season.
Yep.
Like the Rams, you can't fall 0-3 and think that you have a chance, right? So this is like their whole season on the line, and they've got to, borderline Hall of Fame quarterback and a coach that does not want to lose to you. And I think this game is massive for both teams.
Both teams, right?
It feels like one team would be going in one direction. Not that the season's over, but like for the Niners, you lose this game and okay, things are starting to slowly get out of your control here.
Right? Seattle's up at home playing the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins without Tua Tagovailoa. And then you have the Cardinals playing the Detroit Lions at home. So that's a big game down in the desert where there's so many good games in week 3. It's unbelievable. It's just box office what the NFL is doing with the schedule. But then you're right. You send the Rams at 0-3.
That's
with Kupp out for a few weeks, with Puka out for a few weeks, Stafford with no offensive line. Now you separate from them. You stay on par with Seattle. No, this is a massive swing game. And the Niners haven't lost a regular season game in SoFi yet, Shasky. Haven't lost to SoFi Stadium in a regular season.
All those stats feel so meaningless when you lose the NFC Championship game. I'm sorry.
Hey, they own SoFi.
I hate hearing it. It's like,
they own SoFi.
But the one game we didn't win is the one that's the most
trust
important.
Me, they always let me know about it whenever I go down to SoFi.
It's like when I hear Giants fans like, well, 2021. It's like, you lost to the freaking Dodgers, and we all saw it coming.
Right. The Purdy 30. 813 wants to change it to the Purdy 30. That's not bad. 30 for Purdy or the Purdy 30. 888-957-9570. We're going to get to everybody after break. What's the break today, Lubin? Is it 26, 25? Where are we at?
26.
20. Oh, so we got a couple minutes here. All right. A couple minutes here with, all right, the offense. Without Deebo Samuel. Here's what Baldy said about the offense without Deebo.
You're going to see now, because Deebo's out, you'll see the rookie Garendo. And Isaac Garendo, if you watch him in his final game, Louisville USC, he was terrific. He's got 4.3 plus speed at 220 pounds. Now, he's got to take care of the ball. He's got to pass protect. There's a lot of things he's got to be able to do. And I'm not sure about some of those things. But he's got legitimate speed. I think, what do you have? Just the one carry the other day. Like, he's going to have to step up because those were Deebo's carries. They're still going to be a run-first team and setting up their offense. So we're going to see more Garendo.
All right. Isaac Garendo, next man up. I'm intrigued.
He missed the hole. I mean, I think this is one thing that frustrates me is that a guy gets one opportunity and then, obviously the game's moving fast. You're trying to get a feel for it. It's your first NFL moment, you know what I mean, as a player. And he misses the hole. Everyone's like, you got to hit this hole. You got to hit this hole. All 22 experts come out the woodworks 24 hours later. And this is where I would say, and this is the coach in me, hey, you're in a game. It's a tight game. You're trying to win that game. Mason gives you your best chance. But I also know that, hey, man, I'm going to need Garendo at some point. I got to try to prioritize another touch for this young man so that when I ask him to do 5 carries the following week, maybe he's a little more assimilated. And people are going to say, Joe, what's 1 carry? I think it's a lot. It just kind of stabilizes things. Did Jordan Mason look better in the second half against the Jets than he did in the first half?
He looked the same to me. I mean, he looked great in both halves.
I thought the first quarter he just was a little quick, and then I thought as the game went on, he kind of found his footing, and I thought his vision was a little better.
I thought the Jets just brought it in that first quarter, man. They were fired up with their defensive line, but that's fine. He did run hard in the second half. There's no doubt about it. Jordan Mason just looks like a bull. He looks like a bull. He's just blowing through dudes. I mean, he's solid, but you're going to need a backup. You're going to need him to get a blow because as we were worried, a lot of people worried about McCaffrey and his touches last year. Well, Jordan Mason's on pace to have a lot of touches, and we have no idea if McCaffrey's coming back.
You know what they'll be? I think he's built for a lot of touches, but you do need a secondary guy.
It's a 17-game season, man. It's a lot of football left to be played here. All right, 888-957-9570. I see KB in Oakland. I saw Chris in Danville. 888-957-9570. A little rapid fire on the other side. The Purdy 30? Purdy for 30? The Purdy 30? Whatever we're calling it, I want 30 seconds on Brock Purdy and how he played against Minnesota. Then I'll ask a question, and I'll just put it out there now. Who's got more pressure on them? I'm going to give you 3 names. Ayuk, Shanny, or Purdy? Who's got the most pressure on them in week number 2? Shanny, Ayuk, and Purdy. You could make an argument for all 3 of these guys. We'll do that on the other side. Brought to you by